All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's try to do this. It is Tuesday, and you know what that means. Time for another video. Used to be Tuesday Tao and Wednesday Wisdom, but we've gone through those books a long time ago, and now it is Tuesday Manifest Your Destiny. That has no ring to it, but does that really matter? Thoughtful and well articulated, and this is very refreshing. Tuesday, the nine spiritual principles for manifesting your destiny or becoming a spiritual manifester. We're reading Manifest Your Destiny by Dr. Wayne W. Dyer for purposes of teaching and commentary and expanding the mind. So through an increased awareness, we can increase the quality of our lives and the lives of those around us. We are in, as you can see, chapter number 1, which is very interesting. And it is the first principle of becoming a manifester, a spiritual manifester, or becoming a co-creator is another way to say it. There's many ways to describe this, and this is a subject that is spoken about very widely by many with many different perspectives and opinions. So with that being said, becoming aware of your highest self is the first principle to becoming a manifester. Let me go over real quick the 9 spiritual principles for becoming a manifester, or the 9 principles for becoming, yes, I'm saying this over and over and I don't care. All right, the first principle, becoming aware of your highest self. The second principle, trusting yourself and trusting in the wisdom that created you. The third principle is that you are not an organism in an environment, you are an enviro-organism. You are not separate from your environment, but you are a part of it. And learning this is the third principle. The fourth principle, you can attract to yourself that which you desire. The fifth principle, which will cancel out almost all manifesting attempts, is honoring your worthiness to receive. See, if you don't believe that you are worthy to receive, then you will not, ladies and gentlemen. The sixth principle, connecting to the divine source with unconditional love. This is about being grateful. The seventh principle is about meditating to the sound of creation. The eighth is patiently detaching ourselves from the outcome of our desires and our manifestations. The nicest principle, the ninth principle, ladies and gentlemen, is reacting to your manifestations with gratitude and generosity. So with those 9 principles of how we can become manifestors, creators, co-creators in our lives and in the world, we continue now with part 2 of the first principle, or chapter number 1, coming to know your highest self, in the section entitled The Seen and the Unseen. And Wayne Dyer begins by saying here, quote, consider for a moment the world of form that we see around us. So consider, ladies and gentlemen, for a moment, the world of form, the world of the seen, that which we can see and we can touch, we can smell, we can hear, we can feel, that which we can see, including our body. Now we ask ourselves the question, and Dr. Wayne Dyer asks us the question, what is the cause of all that you observe? I mean, what is the cause of all of this? Is it just happen chance that it's all here? Well, contemplate who it is that observes and notices all of this stuff. Who is it? It's not your body, or is it? I would argue not, because that is part of what you are observing. So if you are observing it, then it is not the observer. These are all great spiritual metaphysical questions to ponder on, that have been pondered on by the sages and the mystics of the ages. Now, Wayne Dyer continues by saying, who is that invisible eye? Inside of all the tubes and the bones and the arteries and the skin that make up our physical form. Who is that invisible watcher, the witness the ever looking, the ever seeing onlooker. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, we're doing this for purposes of teaching and commentary, expanding the mind, and a little levity and entertainment, because these subjects can be very serious. And I would be doing this for fun by myself anyways, and so thank you for joining me on this journey together. But once again, this eye, who is this invisible eye that's looking out that is the observer? It is definitely not my hands that is the observer. It's definitely not my forehead either. It might be something somewhere behind there, but it isn't my brain. I wouldn't think that's it either. There is some kind of non-physical part of each and every one of us. And this is what Dr. Dyer is getting to here. To know yourself authentically, he says and continues, you must, and we must, almost forgot to move the microphone, ladies and gentlemen. But we must, let me see how it works if I set it right here instead of in the center, because it seems to catch good volume over there. Sorry, we must understand that everything that we notice around us was and is caused by something in the world of the unseen. Something in the world of the non-physical. You could call it the spiritual, the mental. But it is definitely not the world of the seen. Remember, this is the seen and the unseen. That's something Dr. Wayne Dyer calls is the world of spirit. And when we look at a giant oak tree, he continues, ask yourself what caused that tree to become what it is. It started from a tiny acorn, a seedling that grew into a mighty tree. Now, our logical, rational mind says that there must be something resembling treeness within that acorn in order to create a tree, right? But when you open up the acorn, you find nothing that resembles a tree. And matter of fact, there's this kind of brown dust if you break it all apart. And you think to yourself, wow, this mighty tree comes from this dust. How does this make any sense? Same thing with tomato plants or any kind of seeds that grow into something that is entirely beyond that which you could ever imagine from the source of such a small and seemingly insignificant little seed. With that being said, when we open the acorn, we find nothing resembling a tree. All you find is a mass of brown stuff, quiet dust. As you can see, I've listened to this audiobook so many times, I kind of know where he's going. He uses different examples sometimes of the tomato plant. He says when he was a little kid, he tells this story, how he, when they were cutting open tomatoes or whatever, and he took one of the seeds and he took it over behind, he took a little paring knife and he cut open the little tomato seeds, and there was just this brown dust, this quiet dust. Emily Dickinson, in her wonderful poem, this quiet dust was once ladies and lads and gentlemen with sighs and frocks and curls, just quiet dust. It's not exactly how the poem goes, but it's the gist of it. Maybe he'll say it here in the next page or so. We're not sure. However, this treeness, coming from this nothingness, this world of the seen and the physical, coming from this world of the unseen, seemingly nothingness, the world of waves and waveforms and frequencies and vibrations, to the world of particles and solid matter. This is a secret and an understanding necessary for obtaining an understanding and an awareness and an ability within yourself to be a manifester. Even though we all are all the time, we're just trying to practice it and do it on purpose in a specific way rather than accidentally manifesting all kinds of random throughout our life. As we notice, a lot of people, well, we all seem to do, and this is why we wonder sometimes where we are. How did I get here? What is all this around me? Well, I have manifested this for myself accidentally. Imagine if you could create instantly with just a thought, and imagine all the things that you would create that you don't want to create because you just instantly It's like, oh shit, I thought about that. I didn't want to think about. So we've got to practice. This is important. This goes back to mind power and the ability to control our own thoughts and our minds and our mental and emotional states. We discover now, back to the acorn, we find smaller shreds of brown stuff. It's quiet dust. If we further examine the brown stuff that makes up the acorn, once again, it's more smaller and smaller versions of the same thing until ultimately you discover distinctly acornish molecules. And then you find atoms, and then we find electrons, and then subatomic particles until we finally go so small as is possible with a microscope at full magnification. And here is where it gets interesting. Here is where we find out that there are no particles. And that somehow everything that we think of that is made up of solid matter, the computer screen or the phone that you're holding or the chair that you're sitting on or whatever it be, ladies and gentlemen, here we find that there is no form. There is no solid matter. There is no particles, but rather everything is waves of energy that mysteriously just come and go. And they go up and down and around and back and forth. And when we observe them, they're different than when we don't observe them. And so we don't know really how to say what they are. And this is all quantum physics. But the point being is that there is this world of the unseen that we so often in our rational, physical, perspectives, trains of thought, we would never actually acknowledge that everything that we see and experience here in the physical world comes from you could call it a spiritual realm, you could call it a non-physical realm, you could just call it a quantum realm. But whatever you want to call it, there is this non-physical world of the unseen waves and vibrations that is the cause and the source for all that is seen. And so with that being said, our conclusion will be that the acorn and the tree itself have a creator that is unseen, immeasurable, and called by those of us who need to classify such things as spirit or the soul or God or whatever names we give, the source, the Tao. And the source of all, therefore, is no thing. Not nothing, but it isn't a thing specifically. But it also isn't nothing, because it is something. What that something is silly to try to put a name to, because it is all names. Remember that. It is all names, therefore the name is irrelevant. But once again, going back to what Wayne Dyer is saying here, is that the source of all, therefore, is no thing, since it is not in the dimension of the measurable, in the dimension of time and space. And so this unseen world that is the source of the world of the seen is also the very cause of you and me and each and every one of us, ladies and gentlemen, here right now. This unseen world is the source of the world of the seen and is also the cause of us. Observe yourself scientifically and you will discover that you are not your own creation. So that's very interesting. We are not our own creation. What are we talking about here? Well, if you did not create yourself, then what was it that created you? You would say, my parents created me, of course. And then there was a process of nature that grew me to where I am now. Well, what is doing the growing of you? Are you beating your heart and breathing your lungs? Are you consciously thinking every time I gotta blink my eye in 0.6 seconds? Boom. Okay, I'm gonna have to blink again coming soon. Boom. Oh, I'm breathing. I better digest. No, we would be failures at trying to do all of this incredible natural operation. And so this should be obvious to many that there is something beyond that of just ourselves here in the physical world and something responsible for seemingly miraculous order of design in nature. Now, if you don't like God or spiritual kind of stuff, then just call it nature and the function of reality. Still, though, there is this thing, so to not acknowledge it would kind of be slamming your head against the wood post, metaphorically. I don't know if that. Anyways, we can go back now, Wayne Dyer continues, to conception and explain creation as one drop of human protoplasm colliding with another, resulting in your appearance in the form of a tiny speck that grew into the body that is you today. That's a more complicated way to say, yeah, it was my parents and then nature. Thank you, Wayne Dyer. But I appreciate the better description there. Once again, it says thoughtful, refreshing, and most importantly, well articulated. And so, but if we delve further into these drops of human protoplasm and turn up the magnification on the microscope and continue once again to do the same thing we've done with the dust of the acorn, which creates the mighty tree, or the tomato seed that creates all the tomatoes on the plant. And if we continue to do this with this drop of protoplasm that is responsible for our creation, as we claim, and turn up the magnification, and if we do the same thing with the speck that was your first experience of form, you discover the same truth that described the acorn. In the beginning is energy. And this energy is something that has no dimensions, it has no shape, it has no physical form. It is unseen and non-visible or physical. This is hard to wrap our minds around because we live in this tangible, graspable, measurable reality all of the time. And so this is why metaphysics and spiritual stuff is tough for a lot of people, because it's just not something that you can directly have spiritual experiences, so that wouldn't be correct to say, but you know where I'm going with that. It's something that is different than what we are used to. And so, if we once again we discover the same truth about ourselves that we discovered in the acorn, in the beginning is energy, and this energy has no dimensions, and this energy is not in the visible world. However, this is our original self. What I'm going to title this video, I have no clue. Manifest Your Destiny, Wayne Dyer, the world of the invisible and visible. It's impossible to title these correctly to get them to the people that need them. But whatever. We'll let the universe take care of that and just do our process, because that would be attaching to the outcome, and we need to detach from the outcome and just be in the flow or the process. Now, this energy that is our original self, that is our source, it is a potentiality, not an object. So keep that in mind. What you are isn't like, it's a future pull. And that's also how Wayne Dyer describes it here, quote unquote, a future pull, a potentiality, something that is pulling your energy, which creates your matter and your form, and your essence and your being, and all of that, your spirit, your life. It is like a future position that isn't fixed anywhere, because once again, it's not in the world of the measurable. This is fluctuant. Going back to the subatomic particles, or the quantum particles, that there is no fixed cessation for them. They are always moving, always vibrating. When you observe them, they may be in one position, but that's just it. The observation kind of screws it. That's a different subject. So we'll stay focused here. But a future pull, if you will, that is a potential to become a something and a no thing as well. But this future pull to become a something. So it doesn't mean your destiny is to become specifically one path. There's a variable, and people debate and argue about that as well, whether it's predestination or it's predetermined or it's free will. And I think the answer would lie somewhere in the gray area, because if we remember paradoxes and polarities, and a lot of the functioning rule sets of reality, then we realize that everything has its pairs of opposites. Everything has its poles, and it is also one. The poles are merely one thing varying by a matter of degree. And so you can think about it like hot and cold or light and dark. Who's to say where one stops in the middle and the other one starts? This would be a personal discretion. I think it's rather light in here, but someone would say it's far too dark. So, with that being said, what were we even talking about? I don't know. I got rambling again. Let's just read what Dr. Wayne Dyer says here. Oh, yeah, predestination and free will, the gray area. I think they're part of the same pole, those two things. So, the general concept of the soul or the spirit is that you have one. I love that. So, somebody says, describe to me, and somebody did ask me because I tell people every now and then, oh, yeah, I do a YouTube channel about mystical, spiritual philosophy. They said, really? One person says, what is the difference between the spirit and the soul? And I said, I haven't really ever found an answer to that question. A lot of people have a lot of different answers, and I've changed my opinions and theories on that over the time as well. And I like this explanation right here. The general understanding, the general concept of the soul or the spirit is that you have one, but it is not that important to daily life. I don't know why. That's hilarious. I think somebody would be expecting a much more spiritual, metaphysical, like awe-inspiring kind of answer. If somebody asks you, "Wow, so you really research this stuff?" And I was, what is the difference? I can just see it now between the spirit and the soul. You tell them, well, very matter of fact, like you're not even like you say, well, the general concept of the spirit of the soul is that you have one, but it's actually not that important in daily life. Then you walk away. They would go, what the? That didn't answer anything. I already knew all of that. Maybe, but huh. I do have one. Maybe you'd reassure somebody that's doubting themselves. We all need that sometimes, a little reassurance. But it may actually, this is done with the comedy. The general concept of the spirit of soul is that you have one, but it is not that important to daily life. It may become really significant, though, after your body is done, after your body dies. I'm taking a different position here, and we should all be taking a different position when we are changing our thoughts and changing our lives, changing the way that we look at things, changing our perspective in order to have an entirely new experience or to have the things that we look at change for us. And so if we are doing that, we must begin taking a different position on this concept of the soul or the spirit, in that it is the core of the very first principle of becoming a spiritual manifester. I would say just becoming a spiritual person. It will lead you to your highest self. And then on and on to the ability to live a miraculous life of co-creating with God, our ideal state of being. Furthermore, this spirit is permanent and is incapable of being lost or removed. It is always with you, no matter what. Your destiny, ladies and gentlemen, is to become a co-creator with God and to treasure the sanctity of all that comes into this world of form from the world of the unseen that we call home, but which is only a transitory house or a stopping place. Our creative ability originates in the unseen mind, in our unseen mind and that of the mind of God. We've been learning in our research of Hermetics and the Egyptian sage god Thoth that all that we see is within the mind of God. Unseen world of waves and energy that becomes particles. But once again, all that we see begins in the unseen world of waves and energy. So too do the planets and the stars and the flowers and the animals and the trees and the birds and the bees and the rocks and your possessions and your creations and all of it, no exceptions, come from this world of the unseen to the world of form, that which we see and experience for ourselves here and now. No exceptions. So examine everything and anything that you find. At the core, there is no form, only an unseen quality, a future pull, a potentiality that brings it from this world of waves and energy into its form, into the world of the observable. It is this very world of the unseen that I would like you to consider, Wayne Dyer is telling us here, as we read these words or as we listen to this video. Imagine that there are two worlds in which we coexist at all times. Wow, I'm liking this. Hopefully you are as well. If you're getting value, consider subscribing and sharing this with somebody who is like-minded. But imagine, you don't even have to imagine, this is the reality, this is the matter of fact, that you are coexisting in two worlds at once. This physical seen, observable world, and also the world of energy and that of the unseen. We are in both of them simultaneously at the same time. And then then look around you now at this world of form, and then look within and realize that it began in the unseen dimension that we are not even close to comprehending or understanding. Then you can begin to make the big leap to the awareness that you are both of these worlds simultaneously. Okay, sorry, I was already doing that. You are not separate from the world of the unseen any more than you could be separate from this physical world here and now. We, you and me, you and I and you, incorrect grammar there, however, us, all of us, ladies and gentlemen, are a combination of both at all moments of our life. And we cannot be separate from both of these, even if we come to believe that we reside exclusively in the world of the seen, and that the world of the unseen is something other than you. But it is you. All of it. Right now. All of the time. But the problem that faces most of us in understanding or coming to this awareness is that we are told exactly and taught exactly the opposite. That, like the symbol of the bulldozer, we can just push around and move around the physical world that is separate from us, that we are separate from this and that, and that's a different discussion, and Wayne Dyer will get to describing that later in other principles. However, it all works together, ladies and gentlemen. And so, once again, we are a combination of both at all moments of our lives. Even if we've come to believe that this isn't the case and that we're only here in the physical world, it doesn't matter what we think. The problem that faces most of us in becoming manifestors, back to the point for all of this, I mean, this is just spiritual philosophy, but the point of this particular reading right now and to this conversation today is talking about the first principle of manifesting, which is most important to begin from. Once again, these all go in order and work together, is coming to know your highest self. And that there is a part of us that is beyond everything that we have ever known and has greater capabilities and abilities than we have ever been told. And it is you, all of it, right now. But once again, the problem for most of us in becoming manifestors or creators or learning how to manage the circumstances of our lives, if you don't like the word manifesting, then we are becoming managers of the circumstances and events that happen in our lives, is what we have forfeited is the problem is we have forfeited our ability to oscillate, to go back and forth, because we are in both, but we've cut off our connection to the world of the unseen. That is the cause for everything in the world of the seen. So if we want to begin to become creators or become managers of the circumstances and the events that show up in our lives, we must begin going to the source of that. What is the source of that? Well, that is the world of the unseen. And if we've been telling ourselves our entire lives, there's nothing I can do about anything, and all I am is just this physical person here getting pushed around by the bulldozers of life, metaphorically, then we have forfeited, lost, forgotten, gave away, thrown in the trash, however you want to say it, we have forfeited our ability to go back and forth from the world of the unseen, that is the very source of everything in the world of the seen, to go back and forth and then influence and become a creator. If you've never heard all of this before, hopefully you're going, holy wow, this is incredible and this is important, because this is why I love Dr. Wayne W. Dyer, because he teaches this stuff in just a certain way that it clicked in for me. Once again, it's refreshing, it's thoughtful, and most importantly, well articulated. So, we're almost to the end of the section here. So hopefully put a bow on this video, because this has been fantastic. So remember, this is important. The problem that faces most of us in becoming creators and learning to manage the circumstances of our lives is that we have forfeited our ability to oscillate, go back and forth between the world of form and the unseen world, the world of spirit. Now imagine that there is a line down the middle of the room that we are in at this moment. And then pretend that everything on the right side of the line represents the world of spirit, or the world of the unseen. And then to the left of this line, that everything... All right, I did that backwards. Pretend that everything on the right side of the line represents the world of the seen and the physical. And then to the left of the line is everything that is the cause of everything on the right side of the room. It's something he uses in his lectures. He goes, imagine the right side of the stage is everything in the world of the physical that we can see and experience here. Now imagine that everything on the left side is the cause of everything on the right. This might be backwards in your version of this video, whatever. And now, the unseen world is on the left, the seen world is on the right. Now question your belief that you, the whole you, cannot enter the world to the left of the imaginary line. If you were to cross that line, every now and then, you would be entering the world of the Creator. Have you been taught that the Creator is something outside of yourself? Probably. I mean, whenever it comes, this one strand, it's just hilarious. Maybe we'll shove it under. But whenever it comes to this idea of the Creator, God, a great spirit, whatever you want to call it, but it's always like something that isn't you. So it's like, oh yeah, but that's reserved for greater deities, and I can't be a creator, right? Have you ever been taught that the Creator is something outside of yourself? I will deal with this more thoroughly in the second principle, Dr. Wayne Dyer reminds us, so don't worry. But if so, your inner world, the world of the unseen, is full of notions that prohibit and cancel and stop us from ever even participating in the creative process. There are dogmas that represent participating in the creative process as blasphemy, or foolish, or thinking too highly of yourself, which is the one that gets me the most, is when you're doing this kind of spiritual work, you're coming to appreciate and love yourself, and then people say you're a narcissist. And I'm like, man, you guys really just don't want people to have a happy life, do you? Oh, you love yourself? You're evil for that. It's like, where do you get off? Like, seriously, like, what the? Anyways, that's a whole different subject that really grinds my gears, so to speak, ladies and gentlemen. Because we should all love and appreciate ourselves. That doesn't mean we don't love and appreciate everybody else, too. This is a totally different subject. There are dogmas that represent participating in this creative process, co-creating with God, would be blasphemy or foolishness or thinking too highly of yourself. But go back to the opening sentence of this very first principle and reread it until it resonates within you, which is this. Within each and every one of us, ladies and gentlemen, within you is a divine capacity to manifest and attract all that you desire. Remember this. Within you, right now, it doesn't matter how old you are, how young you are, where you've gone, what you've done, within each and every one of us, within you, is a divine capacity to manifest and attract all that you desire. It is more than within you, it is you and me and each and every one of us. We must overcome our conditioning, ladies and gentlemen. This is what it's all about. We have been conditioned and programmed and sold and taught to believe that this is impossible for us, and that if you try, you're foolish and crazy. And people will say that to you because if this is really a possibility, then everybody would be doing it. And if somebody finds out that it is a possibility and they haven't been doing it and somebody else is, they feel foolish. And so we all don't want to walk around feeling like, man, we're a bunch of idiots. Well, there's these few people that just seem to be in the right place at the right time and things work out for them. And the thing that they were trying to accomplish gets done real easy. And they just seem to have financial security and abundance. And this is what Dr. Wayne Dyer coined, and my favorite description of manifesting is the science of lucky people. He says that at the beginning of this audiobook, I'll have a link to it in the description if you want to listen to him describing all this, especially the first, hour or so of it is everything we're talking about right now. But the science of lucky, there is a science. There are these people that things seem to just work out for them and they're lucky, and that's just what we call it. But we've never really put a lot of effort and work, especially from a scientific perspective, in studying the parameters of these people and how they think and, what their perspectives are and all of these things that could make up what I like to call, and what Wayne Dyer coined, a science of lucky people. Which would be amazing. I mean, wouldn't we all want to become a lucky person? Well, this is why we are learning how to become a spiritual co-creator with the source in order to manifest a better quality of lives for ourselves and those around us. But, ladies and gentlemen, when we finally overcome our conditioning and give ourselves permission to enter into this world of the unseen, cross the line that separates the physical you from the you that is just as real but unseen and spiritual. When you overcome the obstacles of your mind that prevent us from crossing the line, our unseen self will be our ticket to becoming a creator, and will be the ticket to creating and the creation of our life and creation in our life. I'll say it how Dr. Wayne Dyer said it. When you overcome the obstacles of your mind that prevent you from crossing the line, your unseen self will be your ticket to creation in your life. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is a boom to manifest your destiny. The next section is entitled Transcend Your Conditioning, and how we can go beyond what we have been taught is impossible for us. And this today, that is a boom to the world of the seen and the unseen, the realm of the spiritual and the physical, and the path and the first principle to becoming a spiritual manifester or creator, co-creator with God, or simply just a manager of the circumstances that appear in our life, which is coming to know your highest self. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we will leave that there. That was fantastic. I am loving this book so far. And we are literally still just in the first chapter, 12 pages in. 12 pages. And there is enough teachings there for a lifetime of study and meditation and contemplation and rumination, ponderation, a thinking upon. Remember the great teaching from the Egyptian sage god Thoth, or in Greek known as Hermes Trismegistus, 3 times the greatest. That a pure philosophy is a spiritual striving through a constant contemplation to attain true knowledge of Atum, the one God, or the universe, reality, everything we find ourselves within. And so with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, remember to seek to achieve and maintain happiness through enlightenment, through a greater awareness and an understanding of the nature of ourselves, spirituality, psychology. And so that through this awareness, we can hopefully increase the quality of our lives and the lives of those around us. And remember to seek to discover the lost wisdom of the ages, as well as the mysteries of our history, or his story. That's a different subject. But also, keep in mind that there is no way to happiness. We're always like, because happiness is the way. But we're always like, oh, when I get there and I have this, dang, the wind is blowing. But when I get there and have this much and finally, then I'll be happy. But if we can create the ability through effort and lifestyle, all of this that we're doing, spiritual study and practice and diligence, we can create the ability within ourselves to bring happiness to life in the moment. So it is an action for us rather than a result or reward. Then all those things we've been telling ourselves, when I get that much and have this, then I'll be happy, becomes irrelevant, because then we are there, and then hopefully the entire journey is wonderful. And also, you won't have to look outside of yourself somewhere to get it. You will have it. That is the ultimate secret. All right, ladies and gentlemen, remember, as I just said, all of that, as well as there's also a link in the description below for this book so you can get it for yourself, to put it on your shelf and follow along in future episodes, and just to have for reference, because it's a good one to go back to when you need this kind of reminder. There's a great master once said that in order to continue on the spiritual path, you must continue your spiritual study. And so I like that reminder, because if we get, if we don't touch any of this material and these thoughts and these ideas for months on end, it's not active with us and coming to life. It gets kind of lost in the day-to-day reality going on. But also there's a link to my Etsy shop and my landscape paintings. I think I've only sold one this entire year in 9 months. And I always send out an extra free one for those that do actually purchase, because I never sell enough to not do that anyways. I mean, if I sold like 15 or 20, then I'd be like, all right, I can't give 15 or 20 free paintings out all the time. But when I only sell 2 a year, it's no problem to. So there's your incentive to go check out my shop and buy a painting. I'll give you a free random one. There. No, I'm kidding. Doesn't matter. But I'm not kidding. I will do that. Sorry, I'm rambling now. Also, a link to C60 Power, the ultimate antioxidant known to man. Literally. Nobel Prize winning. Buckminster Fuller. All right. Also a link to Patreon, but I haven't done nothing on there anyways. So if you want all that to happen, then give me some incentive to do so, ladies and gentlemen. Otherwise, be the change that you want to see and be the example that you want to set. Thank you so much. And until next time, shout out to Rex. No, 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 no. Love you, ladies and gentlemen.